Hi, I'm Mandy. I'm a creative life coach. I do artwork and I creative life coaching for teens and for couples, one-on-one life coaching. And my company is Life in Perspective. And I've had the privilege of had a brain profiling done by Nolene, and I now use her profiling with my clients, and it's been amazing. So in my business, it's been very useful to figure out how each person works with each other, and the brain profiling really gives each person a great standpoint from their perspective, and then to understand where each other is coming from. So it's been really useful with a huge amount of information to work from our perspective, and it's hugely informative. That's what we found.
Okay.
Working from us.
When you were having the brain profile, what kind of insights did you find from it personally? How did it help you personally?
Well, initially it just blew me away because I was quite shocked at how much information there was, and how far it went. It was just huge amounts of information that made sense for me from way back from when I was a child. It suddenly made sense to me how I had operated from way back, and suddenly things that I had been fighting for so long suddenly were clear to me. They weren't things that I could necessarily change or fight against. They were just parts of who I am, and it made me kind of be more accepting of me. Yeah,
that's brilliant. Can you see that there are different ways that one could use it in different applications?
I think in terms of what I do in the life coaching, it certainly helps people understand each other in a better way. So for instance, if you're dealing with a husband and wife team, for instance, it can sometimes be very frustrating, kind of, why isn't he doing that, or why isn't she behaving in a specific way? This is more about, this is why he's behaving this way, and then it becomes a much more accepting kind of behavior, because you understand it. It's not what he's doing, it's why he's doing it, and then you have an acceptance of why he or she is behaving in a specific way, and then you can work with it. And the same for children, the same for your relationships with other people. So if you start to understand what they're doing and why they're doing it, suddenly you can work with it in a way that you understand it a whole lot better.
Can you see how teachers could benefit from knowing children's profiles?
Without doubt. I mean, there's no way you couldn't work with it if you understand it, because then the frustration level just dissipates. There is no frustration anymore. You get it. You just get it. So yeah, it makes a whole lot of sense.
Okay.
I mean, if I just add in that it's just something that if you don't understand something, your frustration with the person builds and builds to the point that it's a resentment, and then you're kind of looking for, it becomes an anger point where the person arrives and you're suddenly looking to fight with that person before they've even said anything, or there's an aggression that builds when somebody arrives. So if you have an understanding, your intention immediately goes to helping that person or working with that person. And I think this work helps you start from that level. So your intention is very different from the get-go. I think that's what the brain profiling really does for you. And I think that's the point that this gives you. That's the starting point that gives you.
And do you find that the method that we use to get the brain profile a bit peculiar?
It was strange, and certainly if I hadn't actually worked with kinesiology before, I would have thought, okay, loop-de-doo. But I mean, the point is, if you kind of open your mind to it and sort of say, okay, well, let's see how this goes. What blew me away was the result. So I kind of got past that, and really, at the same time, sticking needles in people, tapping, all these things have got different strangenesses about them. So Yeah, I mean, that part is definitely a bit different. But at the end of the day, the result was, for me, um, it was indisputable. I mean, it was mind-blowing. Yeah.
And you've been involved with other types of profiling.
Yeah.
And how does this compare to the other types of
No
profiling?
comparison. No comparison. I mean, at the end of the day, the amount of detail and the amount of relevance that came across in this was enormous. Absolutely enormous. And it was very specific. So for me, it wasn't kind of a generalized, wishy-washy, could fit anybody. That wasn't the case here. This was very specific and it was very clear. And that's what I liked about this. So it was definitely, when you put the two, if you put two people in a room or three people in a room, it was aimed and specific to those two or three people. That for me was clear.
Fantastic.